World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Racing. We absolutely love it, don't we? Always a pure thrill. Always a challenge which, for pretty much anyone who gets their opportunity to go out there to put their best time down on the table, it's one thing you can always enjoy. But when it comes to the Open Series, it's something for everyone to go out there and enjoy. Today is Zolder, and today is round 6 of your HyperX Open Championship here with us at World Pro Racing, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook Live, and on Twitch, as well as with ESTV, Esports Television Network, Motorsport.tv, and TVM Sport as well. As it says there just underneath me, my name's Jake Sperry, and I'm here to bring you through all of the coverage here today of what is looking to be a fairly entertaining race that we hope to get in the next couple of moments. If you haven't had the chance to already, and you're here for the first time, getting yourself into the mix and the understanding of what makes great sim racing so fun to watch and to be a part of, you can like, you can share, and you can subscribe for more amazing content here brought to us by the team here at World Pro Racing. But we're not a million miles away, at least at this point in time, to bring ourselves into play with some racing action out on track for you at this stage. There is still a whole heap of, I would say, differences to be had. There's a lot of quick drivers out there who want to try and prove their skills today, and they wouldn't miss it for the world at this point in time around a circuit which, by all intents and purposes, is one of the great GT challenges that is found in the world. It's a smaller track, but my goodness, for a small track, could it be any more technical than it is at this point in time? But that's the question that I'm sure everyone's going to be looking at. Who's got the form book? Who's got the abilities and the opportunities to make things happen? As we take a little look at the drivers out on circuit, it is Harry Spears who is out there on top at the moment. Luke Whitehead currently in second position as things stands. Bentley's 1, 2, 4, and 5 at this moment in time as we find ourselves in free practice, as someone finds themselves very much in the wall and troubles seemingly brewing earlier on as we look at Dario Mangion out there in the the GT Omega RPM Esports Black Machine at this point in time. A lot of drivers yet to set their overall and representative lap times right now, and you can see on screen there on the right hand side the track map that is there, and every respective number that is on there indicates where they are and where they are going around this circuit. Any driver in yellow means that they have got a yellow flag. If you see a driver in red, that is the driver we are on board with right now, heading over the start finish line then with Dario Mangion at this point in time. Zolder, a track which probably, by understanding, is one of the most sustainable circuits out there in the world, sliding through an observatory bend. Turn number 2, you can see there by the wind farm that is there on the outskirts then of Canal. Turn number 3 before heading through Lucien Bianchi here. This long right-hander, the uncle of the late Jules Bianchi, who of course lost his life now 7 years ago over in Suzuka, Japan. But at least this circuit, we understand and we know, can be one of the most amazing tracks to have close quarters combat racing. It's very difficult to separate sometimes around this circuit. David Yu out there in the open road racing car will be certainly hoping for some good pace and to get up to speed quickly, heading up over the Butte Hill and then down through the left. That leads to this Telemann complex. 4 corners, which effectively feels like one out there on track, through the second of the right, and then finally the third of them, which leads to this back half of the circuit, up and over again, roller coaster-esque, before you head yourself down to the Boulderberg hairpin, which is one of the key places here today where an overtake can be constructed. And then you've got this small kink of a chicane, which leads to the final chicane out on circuit. Those 2 final chicanes have been very, very crucial. Assetto Corsa Competizione we find ourselves in today, as we traditionally do with the HyperX Open Series. And the opportunities are limitless here for all of these drivers to find exactly what we want to. Here's a driver who definitely has the abilities to go out there and do well, driving the Nissan out there today. It's Tinko van der Velde, who will be certainly hoping for good opportunities here today to stamp down a marker, someone who has been up there at the top level for a fair while when it comes to racing, and is someone who could very simply get themselves back up there again. So there is always a chance that Van der Velde can put himself up there near the pointy end. That was a 1:28.4 on that lap. Not willing to show all of the toys, so to speak, at this moment. There is still opportunities to improve on the lap times as everyone looks to try and get as much as they can out of at least the early stages of this practice. 10 minutes remaining of that as we look at Darius Andre, and he'll be looking for good opportunity. There's one of the Porsches there that has gone around, and Andre finds out just how difficult it is to push through that section of road in the early goings there. Juan Filippo then for the or driving what is bog standard Bentley at this point in time. That is a 1:29.2, but a one that was invalidated in terms of laps, so no improvement there in terms of practice. But a lot of drivers here just keeping it calm in the early going. Some drivers like to practice, other drivers maybe not so much. Track temperature, you can see in the top right of your screen, is 26 degrees. So I would say it's pretty ideal conditions to go out there and race, as Andrea Rizzo going through turn number 2, taking an extremely wide line, just making sure that there is no traffic affecting the Lexus here today. Only Lexus in the field for Andrea Rizzo in the Tech 1 racing car. One Ferrari as well. Kirsten Beher has that. Hasn't yet set a lap time either, so we are unaware of representative pace. Just the one McLaren we saw earlier on, of course, and predominantly this will be a Bentley field. Couple of Aston Martins there from Neuwirth and North. They will both be trying to do well. And here is Hamida Akizi driving for Virtual to Real League VTRL, and really pushing through turn number 1 as we are on board, and you can hear the guttural screaming of this Bentley as it tries to go through. I'd say it's more of a roar than a scream. It is a roar from this Bentley going through 3 and 4. A little bit of correction, trying to go through this section of road and hopefully sort out a nice and simple start to the racing that we have here today through this very difficult Klein chicane. So easy to get unsettled through that section of road, and every opportunity that is needed to be constructed, and has been over the course of this circuit, is one that you could argue that for now until forever, I think, is going to be the toughest corner out on track. One which, by all intents and purposes, is going to be difficult to get through. And really the balance of the car is very much prided on as you go around a track like Zolder. So one of the few circuits out there which has done so much, and we have seen time and again, but this has been a crucial track on the GT calendars. It's a little bit different, especially when it's come to the likes of Blancpain, for example. It's been one of the more crucial tracks to get a good result at, but will it be the same case today? Spears in control, 26.5. 2/10 clear of Luke Whitehead in second, then it's a second back to everyone else as Tom Ottey sees why it's very difficult to come out towards Terleyman. A very, very tough element out there on circuit. The run, of course, always difficult. The Villeneuve chicane in towards then Terleyman, always going to be a tough option, an opportunity, as we take a look at the PPR Esports car there of Luke Whitehead. At this stage, cresting the rise as his Bentley goes. Andre moving up into third fastest at this stage, but the brakes very much nicely hit on, going through then the right of this beautiful section of road, and I guess just backing off at this moment in time, just sighting out then a couple options here and there, wants to get a couple of clean laps on the board. Still a very small circuit by distance, only 2.49 miles, or by metric systems, you could say. It's 4.01 kilometers, and a very difficult challenge. There is Kirsten Abeja, currently 6.6 seconds adrift in the Ferrari right now. We doubt that is representative at this stage, with about 6 minutes remaining in free practice. Sunshine expected throughout the entirety of the session, so no real dramas or disasters to be influenced by the weather here today. There is the Swiss driver, Matthew North, driving for Tiger Rabbit Racing 1. Through the right then of the final chicane, Jackie X, making that drive over towards the line. Hopefully it will be a solid run, a 1:30.9, just making sure that there are chances there. Some drivers will be looking to get qualifying runs in. That's why you'll see sometimes a lot quicker than others. Others will, of course, be looking at putting some race stints down, feeling comfortable and confident that the decisions they are making are indeed the correct ones out there today, and that the chances that have been formed by the way that everyone is driving about is not one that they can be too concerned about. So we will see in due course whether people have been holding back some of their pace and those who have been going a little bit quicker. Someone who has definitely held back pace is the number 41 of Kalai Atkins. So has certainly been there as the elf signage gets absolutely clattered by Matthew North. Goes for a spin. Yellow flags locally come out in that section, but we'll still be able to keep things going. Daniel Stramet, 7th position right now, and a change at the top as Luke Whitehead goes fastest. 126.412. There you can see on the infield they're running through 2, 3, 4, those solar panels around this circuit on top of that. So it's going to be difficult to judge whether we're there at the moment in terms of pace. Very easily see drivers improve, get quicker. Options are very much available to them. But at least for the time being, it's just about getting those final elements of consistency with practice. And there's not much more you can do except maybe set a good time or keep a little bit in reserve for qualifying, which always becomes an important point here when it comes to racing with us. If you have got yourself an opportunity, you can join World Pro Racing events as and when they do crop up. You can head over to worldproracing.com/events, and the opportunity, if you are brand new to sim racing or if you are a veteran of sim racing, you have the chance to sign up, find a series that is right for you. And that does potentially get broadcasted all around the world with us here. But Daniel Stramet, 28.6 there over the line, showing some consistency, and an important point in time to show that level of consistency and show that the pace is there and is willing and is able. 1.8 seconds adrift to the fastest time, so might not be an outright challenge for the win today, but top 10 will certainly be in the offing. Top 5 as well will certainly go a long way to helping, as Hamida Akizi then is 5th fastest at this stage. I believe has jumped over Apostol, and that will be very, very useful. Just 3 thousandths between them at this point in time. 17 drivers here today, of course, as we drive through 224. Little wiggle there from Daniel Stramet going through the right, which leads on to Tilleyman, down the hill towards Boulderberg now. And really, for car number 1, not an indication that any prior championship has been won out there, but an idea that pace is needed as Kalai Atkins moves up to 3rd fastest at this point in time. 0.6 of a second behind in the Omega G performance car. Bentley's 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the moment over the course of this practice section. Then you've got Tinko van der Velde in the Nissan GTR Skyline. And then 1, 2, 3 more Bentleys meaning that Bentley is the car, no doubt about it. 7 of the top 8 have gone Bentley hunting around the racing that we have seen today. So, now you figure out, okay, that's where the field is set. That's where we're going to be looking at. We've got a minute until qualifying. We don't really need to go out much more and put a heavy effort, I think that's the right way to say, before we get into some brilliant action here today. But just calm and patience, and then the opportunities will come along a little bit later on. Kirsten Abeja not fully convinced on car, it seems. We did see him in the Ferrari, and in practice you are allowed to change your car as much as you like, but once practice and the checkered flag comes out, then there is no opportunity to change the car that you have. So Abeja back in, has moved into the Porsche now, and as such will not be looking for any opportunities to change on top of that. So we will keep that into consideration, that some drivers are going to be a little bit more experienced than others here today. But we are very swiftly running towards the checkered flag out there in practice. And once that happens, we will be jumping on over towards a qualifying gander. See who will take themselves to pole. Kalai Atkins did improve on that last lap as the checkered flag does expire. Moved to within half a second of Luke Whitehead, who has been knocking on the door of some really good performances and has definitely been the pride of World Pro Racing, the way that he's been driving out there overall. So definitely worth a little bit of an understanding as we keep an eye on Atkins going through the left of Jochen Rindt over towards Jackie Ickx. A very difficult pit entry as well here. It's so easy to just clatter into the back of someone if you're not paying too much attention as you go through certain elements of the circuit. But Atkins will make a drive to the line and will not improve on that lap. That was a 27.2 out there at that moment. But again, focus now shifts. It's not a practice element. It will be a qualifying element. The opportunity to get your best possible foot forward is right around now. And the figuring out of this stage is going to be very, very crucial. So we'll keep that in the back of the mind as we will be moving in the next couple of seconds over to qualifying. But on top of that, these drivers know that it can be all won and lost if they think about it in qualifying. You don't often talk about you can lose your race in qualifying, but if you qualify way down the order, it's going to be something where a lot of drivers aren't going to find the result that they very much need, and they're going to be spending most of the race trying to gather that back. Not impossible, but quite improbable. And that is often the trouble and the struggle that we do tend to see. So that might just be what we look at. Drivers are out there in this one, and maybe for the likes of Luke Whitehead, a chance to get going through. Late entry in the form of Legreston out there on top of that makes it 18 to the party here today. But we will go on board then. Let's just listen into the sounds of Luke Whitehead here going around circuit, and just how crucial a race this is going to be as he gears up for a flyer. So on the front stretch then, 5th gear, and into the left of the first corner. Always fighting against the car. Go through and another little correction in towards Observatory Bend, turn number 2. Canal is turn 3. Flow seamlessly through, and on the power you charge before Lucien Bianchi comes in, turn 4. Another right hand and left-hand side tyres in a big workout in the early stages of the race. That Klein chicane comes up next. Down to third gear, trying to get some element of consistency. When you put the power down, it's going to be key. It depends on how the car is settled. Through the left of Butte. And now over towards this Villeneuve chicane, taking as much as possible out of this section of track. Next right then comes along here, this to Lehman. And then from to Lehman, it is all about this sweet left. And then the Boulderberg hairpin. It's a quick punch through the middle sector of this lap as we take a little look picture in picture about just how important it is to keep a nice, calm car at this point in time. Final corners, though, come up to be the Jackie Ick chicane. The left at 90 degrees, second gear. Back up on the power. Didn't seem too untoward there. Car had a nice bit of balance to it. And a 126.8, the first benchmark that we see in qualifying from Luke Whitehead. Puts 3/4 of a second on Tinko van der Velde. And then 6/10 on Spears, who is in second position as things stand. Hamada Akizi then for VTRL. We'll be looking for a good run. Stramair going to third fastest. And Akizi not setting a lap time there. At least not setting a lap time that registers on the board. 128.1 that go around. So not the easiest thing to completely get a lap together at Zolder. Track limits are tight, as you'd expect for a track with many chicanes and a system that Assetto Corsa Competizione wants, where they don't want drivers overextending and putting too much strain into off-tracks and cutting. Something that you'd see in the early to mid-2000s of video games, that you could cut a million miles of track here, there, and everywhere. And that's going to be something worth keeping in mind. So I'm pretty sure that we are going to be in a really fun position to figure out who is going to get what. Van der Velde riding through the final couple corners, trying to use all of the curb and a bit more there. And if they're really going for it, they'll try and get as much as they can. Van der Velde by 6 thousandths then. For the moment, jumped to second, but to third now because Harry Spears has gone quicker. Here comes Sebastian Apostol, third fastest, and 0.03 of a second quicker. And Tinko van der Velde with that one. But it is Harry Spears. CMR Bentley doing good enough. 0.3 of a second to the top. Kesey has just gone to third fastest, and Kalai Atkins then to fourth. So seeing a very interesting start to things. A big gap. 26.4 was about what we saw in practices. So nothing really to be untoward. It's the level of pace that we were expecting from today. As we charge through middle sector of the lap. Spears through the right of Telemann, up and over the hill. And you can already see some of that rubber residue on the outside, which balls up into marbles as you go around. And if you get caught out on those where the track is a lot more slipperier, less rubbered in, can be a whole heap of trouble out there on circuit. Through the final chicane once again then. Will Spears put more of a gap down? Postol's decided to bring the car to the pits. They only have 15 minutes, so again, it's a very similar position, and just a little bit short there on that lap by about 0.04 of a second. So a nice chance, but one that didn't work. There is Kirsten Beha, late change to the Porsche, and it's going to make a late drive over towards the line, but that's not the line that's wanted. That is a trip through the gravel, and that will be trouble as Tom Otti, A-Team Porsche, struggling a little bit there through turn number 4, back end just tailing out, and really a track where if you're losing tenths, you're losing hundredths, you could lose a whole lot more. You could lose whole seconds through corners sometimes if you're not finding the limit. Such is the difficulty that this track does bring. Neuwirth, for example, 15 seconds adrift with his first time. Not representative, of course, but really at this point, car 16. or the car in the 696 right now, I should say, position 16 is the focus, and the lap is aborted, getting out of the way of the McLaren of Mangion. Goes through the Boulderberg hairpin without too many dramas at all. So, for now, at least, all is calm in the session. Hamda Akizi has moved to within half a tenth of a second, it seems, from pole position. So the 111 closing down the 107 to almost enough. But as we know, almost enough doesn't get the job done. There's Carly Atkins making that drive. Yellow's out then in sector 1, no surprises there. And Atkins improves now and goes to within 2/10. So more improvements then being seen, and there is Wojtek Neuwirth out there on track. Through the rights then of the middle sector in the Aston Martin. It'll be interesting to see where the Aston Martin places in comparison to a very strong Bentley field. The top 5 in qualifying right now, all part of Bentleys. Leading Aston Martin at this stage is North, who is in 12th position at this moment in time. So through the chicanes and looking to gear up potentially for another lap out on track. Coming to the line, it is 11th fastest, so now becomes the leading Aston Martin out there with a time of a 1:29.0. Still a little ways away from the likes of Spears. Van der Velde, best of the rest at the moment in the Nissan. Only Nissan here today, going through the right and the left then of the middle sector out of the Villeneuve chicane through to Lehman. And you've got this little crest rise, and push too far out there onto the grass, you're going to spin the car up and you're going to find yourself snagging yourself on the inside, which is the last place that any driver wants to find themselves today. And by all intents and purposes, Tinko van der Velde knows that time is of the essence. You can't keep abandoning qualifying laps. 5.5 minutes though. A long time in this one. Spears still in control. It's a big gap though between 4th and 5th between Whitehead and Apostol, who is 0.6 of a second back on where potentially he wants to be in this one. You're seeing here a few cones being scattered around the circuit. Not surprising really, given just how much of the track drivers want to take out. And again, you can see 2 more cones scattered at the Villeneuve chicane and over towards Lehman once more. Akizi pits. Fresh set of boots perhaps might be the call of order here at this moment in time. But really not much that is to be concerned about at this stage. A little bit further down, you look at some of the battles here. Neuwirth and Filippo scrapping close, it seems, for 12th and 13th. Nice scrap going on with the likes of Andre as well in 8th position, trying to stay with the likes of Stramer, Van der Velde and Apostol. Built 7 seconds to Mangion, and that is a 26.6 from Harry Spears. So he's not finding that ability to go out there in the 107 and to put more down, which might be the big worry. There is Dario Mangion, 9th fastest. 1.8 seconds adrift at this point in time, so might be a chance that could be some more places, but it's going to have to take a mega lap to improve on that said 9th position at this point in time. So it's going to be worth the talk, it's going to be worth the discussion, it's going to be worth the finding that this is going to be bringing about. And you've also got McEwing there, who is close in 10th place. We haven't really seen too much of McEwing so far. There is Tom McEwing in the Bentley, and hopefully he won't be McEwing too long in the middle of the pack as he tries to make some places. 3 minutes to go, every lap matters. You can see a lot more composed than the car in front going through. That is another one of the Bentleys. It might just be Daniel Stramer that is there in front in the number 1 car, and indeed it is. So at least for now, that was a spun car. That would have put a cat amongst the pigeons in terms of trying to set those laps, and then having to get through on the Aston Martin isn't going to be too easy. That is North, who is 14th fastest right now. And to be quite honest, at this point in time, that would definitely not have helped the lap for Tom McEwing in the McEwing Motorsports Bentley. Drives to the line then from both. Don't expect these to set the world on fire, and of course that lap didn't. A 1:28.3. Not enough in the end to get the right result out there, but likes of Apostol will be searching for a little bit more at this moment. 9/10 of a second. Wants to close at least 3 of those tenths down to feel more comfortable in 5th. But now, heading onto the brakes. A little bit more of a narrower turn in there, entering the final section of track. And then it's about attack off the exit. Get as much of a drive as you possibly can. That was an outlap. So that was all gearing up for this flying lap. They are allowed to finish the lap that they start when the checkered flag does indeed come out. But one issue that they all have as we go on board with Apostol is that this might just be a difficult opportunity for many people to go out there and grasp by the snuff of the neck. So do not put this all as a guarantee, at least at this point, through the Klein chicane, up over the hill, and then back down it again into boot. This is a crucial point at this stage. You currently the slowest of everyone, Rizzo. 5.2 seconds adrift, 40 seconds and remaining on the clock. It is still Spears, who is in the pits right now, who will not improve on times. Whitehead as well can't find improvement. We are down to the final 25 seconds of qualifying. Everything hinging on this. It's a track that is difficult to overtake on as well, so keep that in mind. Left, right. Back on the power as early as you dare. Don't spin the rears up too much. We'll have one more attempt with about 6 seconds on the clock. 27.9, not good enough. Car behind then is able to finish the lap as we look at Andrea Rizzo. And the 23 will be giving absolutely everything. So expect that 35 car of Tinko van der Velde to be the last car to cross the line. 77 will be the first. That is Mangion, who will improve a bit, but not enough. 0.2 of a second. Will give a little bit of security, but the 111 then has pulled it off to the side of the road. Still focusing on car 23 here. Rizzo going through the middle sector, trying to pull it together. Hamada Akizi couldn't get it done, nor could Apostol, who pulled it off to the pits. Here comes the number 12 car, hoping for a bit of improvement. And North will cross the line and will not go any quicker. 41 car as well be searching. That will be Kalai Atkins, who can't get anything done either. Andrea Rizzo, little wiggle there. Had a little wiggle on the exit. So car's definitely not balanced, that Lexus, which will be a cause for concern during the race, but still good enough to jump 2 places. So a few times there being able to be found, and a few opportunities that were sorted out in qualifying. We're going to step aside, though, for one moment here when it comes to action of this HyperX Open Series with World Pro Racing. We'll be back with more after this.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the HyperX Open Series, round 6 of the championship here today. My name's Jake Sperry, and I am getting a little bit distracted by that. But we are going to be in a fantastic stage for the racing that is coming forward right now. A good qualifying. Harry Spears getting it out early in qualifying, setting a strong lap time, and nobody else getting in half a tenth of a second of him means that pole position is his. But Hamada, Kesey and co are going to be there behind, trying to showcase as much as they possibly can to get as much of a result as they possibly can. But this is the position we find ourselves in on the warm-up lap. 30 minutes is going to be worth putting in mind. One pit stop will be required to take. The options by every single metric are going to be important right now. They call it state-of-the-art racing here at Zolder. And, well, a state-of-the-art battle is going to start in a roundabout now. There's the green flag, there's the underway, and it looks like North has been caught speeding coming to the green flag. So that will be a drive-through penalty for the driver in 14th place. Great start by Spears, though. So Kesey there in second, Atkins third. There is Apostol fighting hard there for that place with Van der Velde. He's not giving this one up then in the Nissan. And that's wonderfully done. And that allows Stramer to go sliding down the inside, and that will be a move for position. They've all got a settled single file by this point, though. The Klein chicane is difficult at the best of times to go through, and the last thing all these drivers want is to spin the car up early over half an hour, and these laps will go by quickly. Dario Mangion out there trying to find a defence at this stage. Looking behind, that's Tom McEwen trying to work a way around. Same for Neuwirth. Neuwirth definitely wants to have a little look, it seems. Those two Bentleys trying every which way to have a look. Sorry, that's Filippo just behind. So Neuwirth a little bit further behind that. But a good clean lap. Start this one here around this Zolder circuit. They've got FIA accredited stewards here. Of course, the teamwork done by Adrian Fagayo and George Mascat, ever invaluable. And there goes a little look for position in towards turn number 1 there. Just ahead of Tinko van der Velde. And it's a big one. Whitehead thinks just managed it on Hamida Akizi. And Akizi just squeezing out Atkins there. Darius Andre has made a great start to this race and certainly wants to push that 56 even further. Through at this point, we go on board from a driver's eyes perspective. You can see the small camera they have gives them an idea of what's behind. They also have the rear view mirror on top of that, but it's sometimes a little bit easier to just glance over to your left when you've got a TV screen. Always seems to be the case. So will that be more of the same, or is it going to be a little bit more different? On the brakes they go. Right, left comes along. And nothing doing yet through Villeneuve and through to Lehman. Big kick of oversteer. A massive correction for Darius there going on through. And that's only going to bring Tinko van der Velde into play at this stage. And really what you could say is that this is going to be an interesting battle. Because the more that they run wide and make mistakes and trip each other up, the more they're going to bring each other closer together. And that's probably the last thing all of those drivers are hoping for over the course of today. Luke Whitehead, 1.8 seconds back now already of Harry Spears, who has just done exactly what's needed in the early goings, just build a gap. And that gap has been rather crucial to the get-go as Andrea Rizzo starts to play defense here against the 5 car of Kirsten Abeja. And it looks like it is going to be a 5-second time penalty we're hearing already in the early stages for car 56 out there. So that is Andre, who is going to take a 5-second penalty after contact with Tinko van der Velde. So already in the early stages, penalties coming into play here from the stewards. Andrea Rizzo still having to defend here into the decline chicane. That behind is Christian Legreston trying to work out a way through. And at least for the moment is not able to construct that one just yet. But at least for the time being. There is your race leader, Harry Spears. Out there just calmly going about business. And really no dramas in the early goings. The pack behind may be a little closer and will be important at this stage. See whether this is going to go in. Of course, you see there on the left-hand side, all those ones next to the driver's numbers. Those indicate how many pit stops they have to make. And crucially, you've got to be within a pit window to make that happen. It's not going to be a case here today that you look at this one and you can go, oh, it's a 30-minute sprint race. We can pit whenever we want. Doesn't work like that. You all have to come in and make the stop when it's needed. Kalai Atkins with a search then. Seems like Hamida Akizi does not have pace in that Bentley. And Atkins desperately wants to try and find a way through sooner rather than later, but it's got that street circuit vibe, hasn't it? It's going to be tough today. You're going to have to earn your overtakes. And through the right to Lehman. Every corner, of course, with Bocht on the end. Bocht just means turn. So to Lehman. Not going to get it. Neither at Boulderberg. But it's about setup from here onwards. If they're starting to get dropped a little bit, then the only person they can blame, so to speak, is themselves. They can't catch back up. Hamida Akizi doing a good job being a cork in the bottle. So we take a little look from behind as we charge on towards the next section of road. Not the easiest task in the world, having to play defense, but Akizi's doing a good enough job at this moment. Already a quarter of this race has already been scored in the books, and we are, at least at this point, 3-4 laps into this one now as they charge through towards Lucien Bianchi, turn number 4. A track which by every metric is a killer of the left-hand side tyres. No ifs, no buts, no ands about it. And it's worth noting how penalties get served as well. in Assetto Corsa Competizione, because you take a little eye on the likes, of course, of those. Here comes Wojciech Neuwirth, trying to go to the outside here at the Klein chicane. Not going to be the easiest way to make a move, but a little look to the inside would certainly help through boots. Trying to get a bit of grass there under braking and hoping for a mistake. And that's what we call an error. Unable to capitalise on it, but an error. Wojciech Neuwirth will be a little bit, I'd say, unfortunate to gain that place. Did all the work, got the mistake, but still the driver in front stayed ahead, so swings and roundabouts, really. Neuwirth's going to have to try and find a move some way. And for Filippo, he has been defending a lot, going through the lefts and the rights. Red next to the number, definitely not a pro-licensed driver in terms of his, you would say, internet pro rating. Silvers will be classified as silver class drivers as well. And there's always a little difference here and there, depending on how much you race in the Assetto Corsa Competizione. On the outside, though, heading through turn number 2, at Observatory through Canal. Again, looking to gear it up. There's not much you can really do or argue against it. They're just staying there, staying close. A little bit of gravel. But it's not there. Every time you search, you're hoping for a move, and it's just not there. But that could be it. It was a big mistake. Side by side, they go up the hill. Finally dispatched. Car 63. Neuwirth gets the move. Not done, though. You feared that would happen. You really did fear that would happen. And not the best hit. And the Porsche there of Abeja is going to pick up a couple spots, I reckon. So we just wait for everyone. There is Tom McEwing, sitting on the back of Mangion. Oh, he's tagged him. He has tagged him. And he's going to wait. Let him turn around and get back going again. So we're seeing a couple of hits here and hits there, which aren't really the nicest. But we are a third of the way through in the next minute or so. And there is Kalai Atkins in 4th place. Hamda Akizi still the target, but has just settled down into a rhythm here. Maybe it's taken a couple of laps to find the pace that is there. There is Mangion, and suddenly it got busy. Around the outside tries Abeja. That's going to be a squeeze. Off the road you go. And then straight through goes the Aston Martin. So all changes. Neuwirth picking one up then. Easy as that is sometimes how you see it. And Neuwirth again gets a great run on that Bentley. Abeja's going to try and send one to the inside. He's not going to quite get the run. But they're now 13 seconds adrift, and this is a secondary pack that has formed in this one as they enter the Villeneuve chicane. Doesn't Gilles Villeneuve have a lot of chicanes around the world? It's impressive. Show the legacy of such a great driver, taken well before his time. Now into the pit. Pit window opens after 20 minutes. And immediately looking to go in is Hamada Akizi. We'll take his service and we'll look to try and attack on a fresh set. Tom Otti there in 8th position. Quietly going about things right now. And by every metric, it's all good. You can see the green now for Akizi. I've made all the stops that I need to today. And I have no real worries from this point onwards. So, Daniel Stromae. Car number 1, 6th position. About a second behind Tinko van der Velde. Keeping Apostol just behind. And Filippo here has a drive-through penalty. So that should be for one of the hits we saw earlier on. Or maybe even track limits. McEwing has also come in and out of the pits, and we'll be looking to try and get things all going. Moving through the next section of road, and that's just how quickly you need to be on the brakes going into the pits, because it's a long straight track. You take the chicane, and you got to slow it down, and they're going to slow down side by side. Apostel there and Stramer. Great battle. Van der Velde, 4th position right now. Now, Andre's going to be staying there in the pits for an extra 5 seconds, so keep that in mind. He will drop back because he will be serving that penalty. But Van der Velde has been left to his own devices at this point in time. And as we know, car 7, given a drive-through penalty, did not re-give or redress the position. So that's why the penalty has come into play. And what you can also look at this point in time is that strategies are going to differ. Some drivers like half and half. Some drivers want to go long on their first stint, just cover everyone else off. And it should be okay from that point onwards. Kesey doing well, and it looks like Andre has gone from penalty to penalty, 5 seconds stop and hold, to a drive-through penalty, which is the last thing you'd want. Oh, hello. Andrea Rizzo nearly losing the back end going through the Klein chicane. That Lexus trying to snap away and having none of it. But this is what's going to hurt Kesey's run. Getting stuck behind the Lexus, not an easy chance to make the moves. But opens it up on the exit. That is pure pressure as Whitehead and Atkins and Van der Velde all dive into the pits. There's a look down the inside, and round you go. There goes Rizzo. Just struggling on the outside, not the traditional line you want to be taking. As it gets a bit slippy out there, it's not ideal. So let's see where they come out in comparison. They're exiting the pits right now. There is Whitehead. And this looks comfortable. It looks really comfortable, actually. He'll get there. Atkins will get there, it looks like. I think Van der Velde here is the one to keep an eye out on, because they've come out right next to each other. At least that's what the map tells me at this stage. Might even be a bit more. So, there's your leader, Harry Spears. Stays out even longer, wants to cover off Otti and Neuwirth potentially. Wait till the last possible moment to make that pit stop. And that might be very, very important, as into the pit someone goes a lap down, like so Filippo, you, Rizzo, all in the pit. Technically a lap down now at this point, but as we know, Spears still has to make his stop. Must do so within 5 minutes and 6 seconds right now, as the clock goes. And that penalty has now increased even further from a drive-through to a 30-second stop and hold. So this is going to hurt for Andre. Longer he doesn't serve it, heavier the penalties are going to be. There is Tom Otti, 2nd position. It's Neuwirth decides to dive into the pits then from 3rd place. And we're that will be the focus. This is only race 1 of 2 as well, so just keep that in mind. It's not a guarantee that this race all sorts itself out and is the here and there and the be-all and end-all out there. Tom Otti doing enough. There is Hamida Urquizi, by the way. And he is right with Tinko van der Velde. Trying to gear it up. Looking to the inside. No dice. Not yet, anyway. And ultimately, we would say that this is the time where you need to start pouncing. If you're behind someone you don't necessarily need to be, you got to go out there, you got to attack, you got to be brave. You got to do what is best for you. So, through the right. How do you attack it? Boulderberg is next. Getting the mirrors. one of the first things you learn in sim racing is you get in the mirrors, you make your car as wide as possible. But just that. It was only just that. Unable to get anything more out of that little move just yet. But it's going to be a patience game from here on out. Spears, no surprises in and out of the pits. Still maintaining the race lead. And maintaining the race lead by a good margin. Otti still yet to come in, but will be due in the next 3 minutes to make that decision to come into the pits. Hamda Akizi still searching though. Been focusing for an entire lap from Akizi's perspective and how do you get through. Tough challenge. Andre is going to come into the pits, take that 30-second stop go. North will also dive into the pits at this point in time. And Filippo is in the pits 2 laps down, probably in the retirement. So, middle sector, here's the chance opening up. And that will be Van der Velde on track limits, getting a drive through. We said track limits were going to be tough. And it's the Nissan driver in trouble. So keep an eye on those. Don't serve it and you get another one of those, you're going to be even further in trouble, the same way Andre is at this moment in time. So Van der Velde will be dropping after that small mistake. It might be something we continue to see over the course of racing here tonight, not just this race, but the next one on top of that. Van der Velde dives into the pits then. Serve the drive-through penalty. And that will really be unfortunate for the way that he wants to drive. No such worries for Harry Spears. He's 4 seconds clear of his nearest rival, Luke Whitehead. Otti is in and out of the pits again. And he's actually on course for a really strong result here with a number of drivers out of position, I would say, at this point in time. So give credit to Tom Otti. This has been a really strong drive, but you've got some really talented individuals at the front. Another given day, Tom Otti could have gone even higher up the order. There you can see Luke Whitehead coming up to that Porsche of you. So that is an option for overtaking. The blue flag's being waved, signalling, let me go. I'm within a second of you. Through to a right at Boulderberg. Jochen Rindt flicks here, left and right. Let me go. Flashing the light saying I want to go through. And we'll get there on the inside. That is a comfortable move. But it has just brought that little worry. A needling little worry behind. That's Kalai Atkins there. Who definitely has put everything into perspective. So will this be one where you can be comfortable, or will this one where you can be slightly less comfortable with the way everything figures itself out? Andre in the pits, I think's called it quits on that 30-second stop and hold. But Atkins right now, just keeping it honest, 1.7 seconds. There's Tom McEwing as well in a good race with Legreston just in front. 1.6 seconds the last time they drove on through, as they will now move on to the brakes into the Boulderberg hairpin. And still, you'd argue that this is tough battling, tough love. Seeing right now, Legreston being reeled in by McEwing, whose pit stop was a little long. 9 minutes, of course, to figure it out. And at least for the time being, it's not quite going to be there. But maybe in the next lap or two, we might just see the overtakes necessary to put this together. Running a little wide through turn one is, turn two there is Legreston at Observatory. And then at Canal, not much you can do. That is an overtake for Tom McEwing. He moves up into 12th place, which is pretty solid. Still has to be worried about the run to climb here. There's always a chance to lunge, but Not going to happen this time. 89 doing exactly enough. In terms of where Van der Velde's come back out, the answer is 7th position. So hasn't lost too much in terms of this race. But still will be frustrating. There is Andrea Rizzo. Trying to drive as cleanly as possible, letting as many cars as possible go. They're out there that are racing. Tech 1 racing car. Trying every which way to make this one to the checkered flag. He's the last driver at the moment on the lead lap. He's got 7 seconds to David Yu, or to you, I should say, over there in 15th place. So, a lot of work to be done. Little wiggle there will also not quite help things out at this point in time, but we've still got a couple of battles here and there to figure. Atkins has brought his gap down to about 1.4 seconds. So we'll be happy. There is Sebastian Apostol, 5th place. About 3 seconds or so behind Hamida Akizi. 8-second margin to Otti. Bit of quiet race from Apostol. Did well early, but seems like the gaps have just clawed themselves out a bit. And that seemingly is the trouble at this point in time. If you think you've got it, and the reality is you haven't, then it does just start to eat at you. That I need a bit more. I think Sebastian Apostol needs a bit more. Definitely looks that way as we head towards the left-right chicane of Klein. Bit of traffic in front, of course, is that Porsche review. Can't quite dispatch just yet into Villeneuve, but to Lehman, maybe after, might be the place to get it done. Good drive through the right. And then it's all about attack from this point onwards. At Boulderberg, down the inside. Gives the room. Easy as pie. That's how you get past lap traffic here. And really, not much more that you can say against that, really. It's been a very paint-by-numbers style race, I think is the right way to say it. McEwing in 12th position, though. Has Kirsten Beher in the sights. Going to go the long way around, though, trying to get this sorted. Just clambers onto the brakes a bit more there. And again, open out the exit, why don't we? Around the outside through Butte. Villeneuve chicane. A little bit of contact there. Oh, a lot of bit of contact. Takes a tip. Getting back righted, but really that. An awkward moment. I wonder how the stewards will look at that. Is that position going to be taken anyway? Here on the outside, it was defended all the way. So Beher thinks it's turnabout fair play at this point in time. See how the stewards play ball with that. Still though, 4 minutes, 47 seconds remaining in a race that has been utterly dominated at the front by Harry Spears. And really, you can't argue too much. Here's a look to the inside. There is your leader, by the way, behind, who's about to put a lap on all of those drivers. Legreston included. So, oh, there goes Legreston in the background. So that's going to be awkward here for Spears, who knows that they are entitled to battle out on circuit, but they are also not entitled to hold up the driver behind in the Bentley. So we'll see how they mastermind a way around towards the left. Little dive, trying to go for the inside. That's not going to work just yet, but again, braking so early through this first section that he's giving himself room to attack. He's going to do the same here, potentially. Just lift out of it, though. Porsche a bit stronger there through the high speed. And that'll be why. You outbrake yourself. Still going to try and fight for it here. Spears is in an awkward place. So Beher will take a 5-second penalty. Kalai Atkins as well, has been caught out on track limits. That'll be a drive-through penalty. That will hurt. They were both catching Spears by about 2 seconds on that lap, and Kalai Atkins' race disintegrates. As simple as that, it disintegrates. That drive-through will get served right now. It's almost thrown it into the wall there, trying to get that car as late on the brakes as possible. So an extra stop for Kalai. Not what the doctor ordered. McEwen's still dealing with the 5-second penalty of Abeja in front. Now knows he doesn't have to go and make that move. But it would be nice to put the hammer down and say, I got that move done on track as well. Penalty or no penalty. So that worked. Oh, there he goes. Wow. Not what you want to see. Abeja losing the back end, so desperately trying to defend that position. And it has cost McEwen a place to Christian Legreston. So it's one that got away there, Missy McEwen. Gonna want that one back. Atkins is back out and away. And is dealing with the lap traffic of Rizzo and Yu, who are fighting for 15th place. So that is going to be a little awkward there for him. He's come back out in 6th place. He's about 2 seconds behind Tom Otti now, with about 2 minutes to go. So, Tom, hold on. Top 5 might just be yours. And I think that would be very, very crucial. As there is Atkins taking to the outside, or inside, turns to outside. Easily gets through on you there with that little move. So not really too much to complain about there in terms of that, but he did put himself in his own situation. It did show. Now here comes Rizzo, trying to get that one done. Don't think that one was scored as complete, or was it? Where's you gone? There's you. Just exiting there to back a shot. So looks like you has gone for a bit of a excursion around at the final section of track. We are reaching the final laps of this race. Harry Spears, dominant drivers. Stromae now will get a drive-through penalty. We'll get it very late, and there will be a 30-second add-on if they can't serve it. So, for Stromae, serve it now or bite the bullet later. This is going to be a bite the bullet later sort of penalty. They have been hitting drivers today, these penalties. Not surprising when you've got such a tough track that is so pernickety when it comes to the off-track limits. And Daniel Stromae, just the latest victim of that, going through then towards turn 2 and Observatory Bend out there on circuit. But there is Spears. Looks like we have lost a driver. 1 lap to go in this one, but the driver it looks like we've lost is the big one. Tinko van der Velde, I believe, has just dropped out of server. So that will be a non-finish then for Tinko. And a really frustrating one on top of that. But Harry Spears knows he's just 1 lap away from a win in race 1. Knows that this is going to be comfy at this stage. Well, this is going to be plain sailing as it has been since the beginning of this race. Luke Whitehead hasn't been able to throw everything together that would have necessarily have constituted a big race victory. Everyone's gone to the Bentley. And Harry Spears has just given everyone a lesson here in this first race. Goes through the right of Tolaiman. Runs to Boulderberg. Hits the brakes. Through the right. Now on the power. Final couple corners remain. And what has been a dominant drive. A drive which you can't argue against. A drive which has been professional throughout. Minimal risk. Maximum reward. To the line goes Harry Spears, who will take the victory in race 1 and will do so at a canter. But Luke Whitehead coming home second. We'll be happy with that. And then Hamida Akizi Long wait for the driver who used to be teammates with Luke Whitehead. It'll be third place for Hamada there. With a quiet run over towards that start-finish line. But we expect a penalty coming in for Stramair that will drop in 1 place, it seems. With McEwing a lap down. He's only expected to lose that 1 position, which is one way to circumvent around the rules. But there is your winner, Harry Spears. Comfortable win in the end. One that you can't really say it could have gone any other way. Built the gap early. Nobody could catch. And that sometimes is the way it goes when it comes to racing like this, ladies and gentlemen. Final couple drivers still due to come to the line. Neuwirth, Stramair and Mangion. And there is Wojciech Neuwirth just about holding off Stramair then towards the end. But Stramair's penalty will be a 30-second add-on. And everyone does make it indeed over towards the line. We're going to step aside again here, ladies and gentlemen. Race 2 is going to be coming up on the horizon. We've got more coming up after this.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your HyperX Open Series. Round 6, Race 2. And this is going to be important here for everyone to just keep themselves in a firm sense of calm at this point in time, because we find ourselves in a place where it was a very, I would say, important first race that we had. It set the tone for everything that has been sorted out. And this second race, a whole heap longer. We've got an hour on the clock. It's going to be all about keep yourself calm. Still got that one mandatory pit stop, sprint into feature. And Harry Spears with control of pretty much everything. How is it going to figure out? Qualifying exactly the same as it was in race 1. And an hour's starting time goes from now. Nice, comfortable start there. No penalties off the get-go. Whitehead immediately jumping up ahead of Atkins up into 3rd position. So another good get launch. And Akisi defending hard there into turn number 2. But again, it is Harry Spears doing well. And now it's Apostol trying to move up into 4th. Atkins in so much trouble early in this hour. And let's be abundantly clear here. That position is taken. It's going to try and fight back, but again, it's going to have to defend here. There's contact as they go through the section. Skirting across the top then goes Andre. And we know that Andre's race ended with penalty early on. It's going to take advantage of that, though. Still's going to take the place, so maybe a little bit cheeky from Andre, but moves up into 4th position using the momentum from the cut of the chicane. But a nice clean start outside of that. So through the right, there is Cully Atkins. Desperately wants to get back through. Looking hard to the inside on the 13 of Apostol. Little later on the brakes. Can he get it slowed? No, he can't. They're both going to go skirting into the grass. Bringing Stramair through then. Abeja also in the Porsche has gone off the road. But now Stramair with a chance to go around the outside. This is a lot more dramatic than the 30-minute feature was. Immediately you can sense it. And a little look to the outside. Filippo already with a 5-second penalty. At this point in time, going through the right, the long right-hander there of turn 3 at Canal. Looks like Atkins will settle down into 5th position. Front 4, Argonzo. There comes a little look then from Apostol, who's in the grass, and he turns Stramair. Daniel Stramair would feel desperately unlucky about that. And it's an awkward rejoin at that section. And he's just got a little bit eager there. Spun the car around. And will be dead last in this field. So Daniel Stramair, brutally unlucky. Brutally unlucky at that stage. Tom McEwing then is in 6th position, has really profited from all of this scrapping in the early goings. There's Manchion just behind it there in the McLaren. Trying to work a way through as they go towards the final 2 corners out on circuit. Jackie X chicane, the left, and then the right, and then the power is going to be important here at this point in time. Tom McEwing doing a pretty decent job in race 1, only getting better in race 2. Tom Otti there in 9th position as this pack finally forms into a sense of calm, but patience needed, longer stint, and they've just got to find their rhythm, because this race is going to feel like they're doing a lot of laps. A little look to the outside there, or the inside actually at that point, from Apostol, who is now back in 8th place. And no real dice in terms of that move. Lead though, 1.8 seconds already at this stage. as Spears and Kesey have that gap. But focusing on Juan Filippo with the 5-second penalty, another little wiggle there for the red driver in terms of his number in class, and it's very difficult to read red on black, especially when it's that small at that point in time. But going through the right, again, just kicking up a little bit there on the curbs is not quite the ideal line to be taking at this point in time. So, at least for the time being, it's going to be patience, and that's another little mistake, and this is why penalties rack up in this series. Here comes a look, though. Postol trying to find a way to manoeuvre the McLaren, and has done just that. Not sure what car 77 can do. It's going to send it deep on the brakes there. And a block pass at Observatory gets the job done. So Mangion flying around, doing exactly what's needed. Apostol there. On top of that, you've got Otti just behind, who definitely wants to try and find a way through. Now, Kalai Atkins has already got 5 seconds worth of penalty. So he's been caught out on the wrong side of things. So already early, it's trouble, and it's 10 seconds that we're seeing. Look at Otti try and find a way through. Apostol not having any of it. And a lunge down the inside at the back. And it might just be Filippo through a Neuwirth, but Neuwirth's not giving up there just behind that. We're seeing here from Apostol's perspective, Neuwirth just going off the road there. And he's managed to make the move stick. Don't know how, but that is a move made. And a good move made on top of that. So really not much you can argue against, at least in the early goings. We expect this to be a crucial little battle. Tyre wear is going to be a lot more important to keep track of. 30 minutes on the stint, potentially, instead of 15 that we saw. And now to the outside comes Apostol. Still going for it. Nope. Not yet. There's some great defending by Mangion, doing everything he needs to. Almost contact there as they go through turn 2. And by being so shallow on that inside, diving in at the deep end is Tom Otti, who says, thank you very much. I will be leading Porsche in this field. Top 6, all Bentleys. Might as well call it the Bentley Racing League at this point in time, the way that they've been driving. So, been some great action. No chance for a move there. So, patience still to be required as they go through. And on the brakes, just a little mistake there, you'd say, from the McLaren driver of Mangion. But he's able to gather it up, and Otti wants another go back. And he's not quite there at that point at this stage. But, oh, there's another little bump. It's not ideal. Hopefully we can go on board, listen to some of the sights and the sounds as they continue to challenge, as they now hit the brakes, looking for that final chicane. And there's the contact. All gone wrong immediately. Mangion in trouble. And then Apostol still going to fight this one out with Otti. I think Otti here on the outside might just have that. Filippo now with a drive-through penalty for incident points already after just 2 laps. Or, sorry, 5 laps here in this race. So already we are seeing some of those troubles showing up early. But 15 seconds then, Apostol is on at this stage. Worth a penalty. Definitely not ideal in the early goings, but still not stopping him from trying to find himself an attack and a way through. Very aggressive lines taken over the Klein chicane. And once again, it becomes a case of challenge on the brakes. Another look. Not going to have it. Great battle going on behind that as well. Beha really aggressive in. And going straight across the road is Neuwirth. So this next pack starting to form. Let's go on board. Let's listen to the sounds and sights as they try and attack moving forward. Well, you can see how close that's just got between Abeja and Neuwirth. Every single element of battle is being tested to its very limit at this point in time. Abeja there in 9th, and a drive-through penalty now through for Apostol. Matthew North, Swiss driver, Tiger Rabbit Racing, very much in a position, you would say at this point in time, where no matter which way you look, forward and behind, it's going to be difficult. Stremer's trying to recover through the field after the incident that we saw earlier on. That didn't necessarily help things out too much, and a drive-through coming in on the board for Andre. Stremer has to take a very heavy line over the chicanes. It seems like everyone's going to be caught out by penalties today. As they hit the brakes into the Villeneuve chicane. Last thing they want is to consistently be chalking up penalties. You hear in the National Football League, the NFL, about ref games or ref ball matches. This isn't a ref ball match. This is going to be a penalty match. You'd feel with the amount of drivers already. We've got 5 seconds, drive-throughs, 10 seconds, all to serve at their pit stop. Or maybe even earlier as they go through. So it's definitely worth keeping in mind. Go through the lefts and the rights. And as we know, drive-through penalties do not count as their mandatory pit stop. And look at this guy. Clearly very excited by the actions going on. Stood right behind, right in front, I should say, construction truck. And you can see those windmills in the background looking rather calm and rather nice as here comes the lunge to the inside. He remained unfazed about that move there from the McLaren driver, Mangion, who has done very well, actually. Trying to get 2 places there. Sneaking on through. That's great work from Mangion. Exactly what was wanted there in terms of an overtake, and not much more you can really argue too much about that. So through the chicane, it's nicely sorted. Now, we've been talking about that gap as well. Up at the front of Stremer, just gets a wonderful drive out of the chicane and just breezes through. Talking about that gap at the front, it's now up to 5.5 seconds between Spears and Urquizy. Very similar to what it was in race 1. And you just have a feeling it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Luke Whitehead has been staring at the back of Hamada Urquizy. They've got a bit of traffic in front, which by my reckoning is going to be Filippo, who's out there on track at this stage. But in comes Apostol for his drive-through. Urquizy's just covering off Luke Whitehead at the moment. Doesn't have to do too much that is dramatic. We saw how Urquizy dropped back through the order in the opening race, and he'll definitely not want to do that, really, over the next stages of this event. An hour's a long way. They are 15 minutes through it at the end of this minute. So they don't really have too much that they can be concerned about at this point in time. But at least what we can say is that this is an important battle right now, as is this one with Wojtek Neuwirth. Searching left, searching right. And Kirsten Abeja there, with that little clip over, gets a 5-second time penalty for track limits. And those hurt, because those are the ones that get served through. Postol still has 15 seconds worth of penalty to serve. So the drive-through hasn't necessarily dealt with everything. Andre coming in for his drive-through as here comes the move to the outside. All completely squeezed shut there on Neuwirth, but wide's going to go, defending Kirsten Abeja. This is probably going to be an overtake, and a clean overtake. It will have to be all the way to that final chicane of Jackie X. Move done. Put Neuwirth up a place. Whitehead still trying to harass the back of Hamada Urquizy. Not getting too much luck, though, doing so. And it really does show, at least at this point in time, as they go through the rights and the left of the Villeneuve chicane, that this is a I will follow the leader style circuit. Going to have to take a lot of work to get this one done for Luke Whitehead, but if there's anyone with enough talent to do so, it would probably be him. in through Boulderberg. And nothing doing. All the elevation, of course, on the left-hand side of the track map over towards up and down the hill. Outside of that, it's a relatively flat course, which can be quite deceptive at times. And you can see there's a little bit of a rise coming out of that final corner, but they will level out heading towards the opening section of the circuit. So there's still that to at least keep in mind for the moment, as they all look to battle hard for as much as they possibly can. But I'm pretty sure that all of these drivers do not want to, how do I put this nicely, risk their race in the early stages. It's a long way to go, and if they are not pinpoint accurate, there is trouble. Take a look then from Luke Whitehead's perspective then. Driving through, hitting the brakes through the left and the right. A little bit of soaring there and correction through left-handers. Going to be difficult here. Bentleys are very big machines, beefy, some would say. So they just take up that little bit extra room on the circuit. They are, of course, to specification, you could say. Very tall car as well, so they punch a big hole in the air. That's why they have a big engine. But really, not going to be the easiest move. Not the easiest for a long time to try and find that overtake. So, once again, they're going to have to be patient. Luke Whitehead, not much you can do about that one. So, there is still going to be a whole heap of a lot more that they can find in terms of overtake. Not yet. They got that gap to Kalai Atkins at 5 seconds. And a 10-second penalty on top of that makes it 15 seconds, essentially, which is exactly where McEwing is behind Kalai Atkins. So, swings and roundabouts. It's going to be a case of Atkins cementing fourth. There's a lone cone there as they go up and over the hill. One of the marshals there, the virtual marshal, is going to have to be an incredibly brave soldier and go out and place that cone back, which will inevitably be kicked up in the next 3 corners or the next 3 cars that go by it, which is a thankless task, mark my words. So, again to Boulderberg. Again, nothing. And this is the key. You've got to get right up underneath and then hope there is the slightest, and I mean slightest, mistake out there overall. So, on the brakes. Not going to get there. Want some more patience, Padawan. You'll get your chance, but at the moment, it is just that. You will get a chance. Not yet. As Akizi goes through the big left-hander of Erst, first corner. I have to say that my understanding of Dutch, I believe this circuit is written in, is not the best, but we try. Still though, Akizi in second, Whitehead in third, 40 minutes to go. We'll be a third of the way through this race. A lot of drivers have been collecting penalties early, but they have settled nicely down into their rhythm. And they know that this is going to be a tall order circuit. Whitehead continues to hemorrhage time to the leader. 7.4 seconds the gap when they last crossed their retrospective markers. And you feel, unless penalties are going to start coming into play for car number 107, who has driven faultlessly through the first 30 minutes of the sprint race, and then through the first 20 minutes of this feature, you wonder if this one's going to be a runaway. Now, here is Sebastian Apostol, who has 15 seconds worth of penalty. He has got through over the course of this lap on Kirsten Abeja, but the worry behind will be how Mr. North is going to do. Matthew North has been driving pretty solidly, all things considered. Hasn't put a foot out of line and is there in 13th. which, as things stands, would be 11th. Are a little ways away from Mangion in 10th. But still, Apostol isn't one to give up without a fight. I'd suppose that this race has been a real fight so far for Apostol to avoid the incident. Whitehead again nose to tail through this section. They're completely matched. A perfect offense, a perfect defense. Which way do you get through? And you just noticed that Whitehead can match through every section, but Akisi just pulls out enough, which means you're not really going to see that much move. Of course, Zolder, for a couple of years, held Formula 1 racing here. And not too much longer, and it's very understandable. This is a very narrow track. Even at the best of times, you're going to be struggling for a bit of too wide. And it does have that street circuit feel to it, which, by every metric, is one you're seeing. There you can see the lap times that they're doing compared to their best in this race. They're already 0.8 of a second back of what they would necessarily want at this point in time. North now has actually lost another place. That is Rizzo, who has found a way through. So another little change in the offing as traffic of Filippo gets out of the way. But every change mattering in this race, and it's been some quiet work for those in 5th and 6th positions. They're driving on islands as here comes North. Straight back at the inside at Boulderberg. Thank you very much. That's a lovely overtake there from Matthew North, who knows that he's just got to sit in, dig, don't lose too much time. Still having to defend this one then. Heavy over the anti-cut curbs. That might incur penalty, but looks like North's got away with it there. And I think Rizzo's going to sneak on back through. So a little disappointing there for Matthew North, but he might just come straight back here at turn 1. Or, you know, he might just spin the car. Taps the Armco. Finds reverse. And that's the reason why I don't commentate sometimes, because I do things like that. And drivers like Matthew North end up in a bit of trouble. So apologies there, Matthew. That's not the way that you wanted that race to go. There's Luke Whitehead, though, still in 3rd position. Still just shadowing. Now, he gets a really good advantage and disadvantage in this position. The advantage is he saves fuel. The disadvantage is he uses too much tyre. I think he's got to be very careful about how much tyre he uses being stuck up behind Hamida Akisi, because, of course, when you're stuck in a bit more turbulent air, as he is at the moment, he's going to be getting more understeer through the corners. And this is going to be a little bit more frustrating than some others. Mark my words about it as they go up the hill and back down it again through Butte into the Villeneuve chicane. Not really much more that you can do around this stage at this point in time. Gaps remaining rather similar at this point in time, but again, there's not really much more there. They charge, of course, towards that final chicane once again. Oh, and Otti has got a drive-through penalty. That will really be disappointing. And as we say that, here comes the pit window. So welcome to Strategiesville. Drivers will be starting to think about when they come down in from this point onwards. They were just outside of the range. Whitehead and Akisi. But I'd expect Otti to come down straight away, get rid of that drive-through. That will bring Andre back up, potentially into 6th place, as Daniel Schramet continues his fight against Neuwirth here. Through the right at Boulderberg and charging back through the S's at Jochenrindt to go forward and try and get a little bit more out of it. Nothing yet, but On cue, in comes Otti. This will be for the drive-through, which will probably not count towards the overall I made a pit stop strategy. Mangion and Apostol come in. Apostol still got to serve 15 seconds at the box, which is a long time when you consider it. 15 seconds when you're going about your normal day feels like forever. You know, oh, I've got to wait 15 seconds for something to be done here. I've got to wait for this, I've got to wait for that. 15 seconds in sim, sat there in your pit box when car after car goes by, feels like an eternity. And it can be a very frustrating one. Now into the pits comes Luke Whitehead. He's looking to undercut. It's a wise decision as Tremere can't quite get past Neuwirth. Mangion has officially done a pit stop. Postol will be the same. Otti, of course, after serving the drive-through, will still have to do his own pit stop out there. And someone with 10 seconds to sit down with will be Kalai Atkins. It's been a tough week. Tough day, really, for Kalai. Probably has every reason to be frustrated with how this has all been going so far. I'm sure that he would have wanted a bit better than another 10-second penalty, and almost instantly on top of that. So it's still in the balance. There's David Yu, who by metric I think has done a really good job so far. Hasn't really been in too much difficulty. Hasn't really done too much wrong. Just been going about his own race. Has the McLaren behind, who will be looking to make a passable position. Tremere is in. Rizzo is also in the pits and now covering off the move. This will be crucial, so I want to keep an eye on it. Hamada Kesey is in the pit as we look at Matthew North, who has made a stop and is back in 16th position. At this point in time, it looks like Filippo is in the pits and might be there for a very long time here in this one. But Hamada Kesey, where will he come out in comparison to Luke Whitehead? That's what I'm keeping an eye out on here. McEwing should be coming through soon. I believe that car in front is Luke Whitehead, so keep an eye on this. Where will Kesey and Whitehead come out, or will they swap positions? So Kesey still being classed as in the box. There's the 21. Now Kesey's been a very long time in the box, so Whitehead is clearly ahead. Clearly ahead by a good margin. Kesey only now is officially served, so I wonder what's gone wrong there. Doesn't seem like there'll be fuel. Might be speeding on entry, potentially. Which should be the last thing that you'd want. Serve a bit more, or maybe a full fill of the tank, which again would also be a disaster in terms of the hour. There's Tom McEwing, third position. They're almost halfway through the pit cycle. Beher in the pit will also serve the 5 seconds on top of that, but McEwing here in the 89, just been doing McEwing things and staying quiet, staying calm. Not much to worry about, so Tom McEwing has been doing a good enough job. A little wiggle coming through the final section of track, but in comes Kalai Atkins from second. Serves the 10 seconds.
We are at the halfway mark, still a long way to go.
There'll be a lot more to serve yet. Harry Spears, though, leading this race. Out of the way, he gets Rizzo. You just wonder with Harry Spears how calm of a race that he is in right now. Just got to do things his way. I want to see his pit stop when he takes it. He's still got 4 minutes, 35 seconds to go. He's over the halfway stage. So, he's been doing the right things. Goes out for another lap then. Using the pits. Kesey is back in the pits. So, clearly what went wrong there for Hamada Kesey continues. Otti as well, back in the pits. So, Kesey's completely out of this one. It's going to be a tough hour. It's going to be a tough one indeed. And Harry Spears, he's just been bossing it. Be interesting to see the gap that he's managed to accrue, having yet to make a stop against the likes of McEwing. Should be a lot. There is Kalai Atkins, who after 10 seconds is ahead of Kesey. No surprises there. But it now puts Atkins in 4th, Andre in 5th, and Otti in 6th position. And Kalai Atkins is going to get a tap from behind because that was a positional fight. The Alf signage board gets absolutely clattered. Into the pits comes McEwing. I believe that was Andre just behind making the contact. So, not ideal. There is Apostol in 10th position. Just in front of him is Otti versus Mangion in the scrap for 8th place overall. So, another little get-go to be had. And they are side by side here. Mangion on the inside is defending. Otti trying to go the long way around, but he doesn't take the natural line. So Mangion will cover it. You've got to get to the inside if you want to make the move. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And not going to happen was the right word for it. Mangion then, just doing what's needed to be done. One driver technically needs to come in, along with Filippo if he's still racing. And that is Spears at this moment in time. There is Mangion. Just doing what needs to be done right now. Going around. Covering those off behind. David Yu is into the pits. He's got a 30-second stop or go. Or stop and go, sorry. It's not either or, it is both. You will stop and you will go. Because if you don't go, it's just a stop penalty. And a stop penalty would be infinite that way. Still though. Oh, Otti. Somehow has saved it. Has opened up the door for Apostol on the inside. And it might just be move done. As they go through the right. Still might be. Otti's going to have to yield. Great work by Apostol to get through. Otti's rear end stepping out, but that's always the worry with the Porsche. Very nimble car. As into the pits comes Harry Spears. Not much to worry about right now. Legreston gets a 5-second penalty. And that's the gap he's got. Half a lap over Luke Whitehead. And we expect that gap to be about 10-ish seconds by the time they go through and get exactly what they want out of it. It's not often that you see Luke Whitehead get outclassed so thoroughly in a race like he has been so far. Now, Spears is going to go to the end garage here. Lights flashing, of course. And we'll take fuel. And we'll wait for the all clear. Gets the green, saying that it's all sorted. And we'll be going out and away again. There is Harry Spears. Hiding behind the trees and the action. And Spears, luckily for him, comes out just in front of this battling group. As Mangion and Apostol fight a lap down. And that is Apostol getting through on Mangion, who isn't fully done at this point in time. Still has to deal with Tom Otti behind. And can't quite make it happen. So patience is there, but the gap is very much there. He looks happy, doesn't he? Sat there as the international point expert. Oh, paint expert. Can't quite read it up top there. Might be a sign as he goes through. You've got every reason to be excited here. We're down to 15 runners, though, in this race. So frustrations have boiled over for a couple of drivers whose races have been effectively ended early. Otti's still not giving this one up, though. He wants to get by Mangion. He wants to get by him, PD and Q. Looking to the outside. Not going to quite do it just yet. Let's go on board with Tom Otti. See whether he can manage to find that move. or otherwise. Outside. Oh, that's going to be close. And they're okay. Try and go on board. Let's get a little listen in. Just how strong of a run this can be. Well, there you hear it from Tom Otti's perspective. Staring at the back of that McLaren for as long as possible. Checking out and away has been Apostol to the tune of 5 seconds already, as pace similar to the leaders. Another little flick there from Otti, trying to keep himself out of trouble. Did so just enough. And now you start wondering at this point in time whether this is going to be a move that happens in a lap, 3 laps, 5 laps, or never. Little look to the inside again. Not going to happen, but Otti's trying to line up the exit of the Klein chicane, and it's not a bad idea to do. But again, doesn't have enough grunt in that Porsche to get past the McLaren, but when you make a mistake like that, who needs power? That is as easy as they come. Dario Mangion has every reason to be frustrated. That was the sort of battle that you'd say you wanted it to go down to a fight, but a mistake is the way you go. You try and force mistakes in a series like this, and that worked for Tom Otti. You wouldn't argue too much against it at this point in time, but still though, 21 minutes to go here at Zolder. Harry Spears in dominant form at the moment, leading by a comfortable margin over Luke Whitehead, who's back in the pits again. Oh, Luke. Lukey boy, what went wrong there? He's back in the pit. Penalty potentially. Maybe didn't get enough fuel in the car. Either way you look at it, that is race ruined from Luke Whitehead's perspective. And will be, I'm pretty sure for everyone, frustrating drives. It wasn't a penalty. It's worth keeping in mind. It wouldn't have been a penalty. So, probably fuel. That is the reason why he's still in there. He misclicked something potentially. Uh-oh. There goes the Aston. And that will be Neuwirth succumbing to the pressure of a hard-charging Apostol, who is a lap behind your leader Spears and matching his times, which will be good for his charge through the field, mark my words. So they're all starting to struggle a little with 19 minutes 45 seconds remaining in this race. Andrea Rizzo trying to stay somewhere near Legreston. There, coming out of the pits was Luke Whitehead, who now finds himself in 4th place and has a lot of work to do to chase down McEwing, who is in 3rd place overall right now. And the last thing he was probably expecting after race 1 would have been a podium position Otti's still not... Otti's actually lost the place back again to Mangion. So Mangion's done a great job of winning that back. But Otti's got to go through all that work again. Traffic. That'll be Filippo. So they're around Filippo. But looks like Mangion's hit that extra gear that Otti can't. And that gap is only extending through each respective corner. So can Otti gather this back up is the real question we've got here. It's about half a second back. Nice traditional lines by both drivers there. Going through and dealing with Boulderberg without too many issues at this stage. They know that this is the sort of point where you go, okay, I've got to size up where I expect to be by the end of the race. One place for Otti would look good. Someone gets a penalty too. Neuwirth might be for the pickings. But that mistake he made a couple laps earlier. Oh, no. Both make contact through turn one. Well, forget Neuwirth. Both of them making a hit. It's going to be a long flick spin. Otti waiting there. McEwing in the meanwhile in the 89, third position. Doing everything that's needed to. Really, there's no other way to describe it in terms of the way this race is going for McEwing. This is what you do. You stay out of trouble. You just race your own race. But that gap is clawing back in from Luke Whitehead. We saw it was 7 seconds, 7.5. It's now suddenly down to 4.5. And that doesn't look like 4.5 seconds. Now count your Mississippis. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 4.3 Mississippis is the gap at this point in time. So you're going to need a bit of work here, Tom, to hold back. Whitehead doesn't want to be stripped of a podium. Has definitely deserved it on pace. And Daniel Stramer has just been put a lap down by the leader, Spears. And that actually is a huge indicator of what sort of gap Harry Spears has. It is massive. So, Stramer getting out there on the wrong curbs. So Spears there in the 107 is there. And you look back for where the 41 of Kalai Atkins is in comparison. It looks like a car's been in a little bit slow. That is Filippo letting some cars through. You look where the 41 is. It's about half a lap. Now, Filippo's got another drive-through penalty after that incident. So that day goes from bad to worse to absolutely diabolic. But what more? Tom Otti still trying to deal with the McLaren. Still trying to work out whether it's going to work. And that is second place behind of Kalai Atkins. So it's going to be an awkward one. Blue flags and a battle. They're entitled to battle. Don't get me wrong. But when you've got lap traffic behind, it gets a little bit difficult. As they go through the right. Look at this drive. Look at this drive. Up the hill and down again. Trying to go the long way around. Yeah, no. Not going to happen. Not like this. And Atkins is there going, hello, you let me through, please? They're happening right now. So to the outside, Otti yields. Lets it go. And we'd say position made with that sort of overtake. So a comfortable bit of work being done there in the early goings then of that overtake. One more for Atkins to deal with then. And you'd wonder here how Otti wants to get that. Because he's got to shadow. As Mangion looking to pull over to the right-hand side. He's got to immediately get back on the power. Doesn't want to let Otti go through. Mangion runs wide though. Here comes the move on the outside. Otti just catching the marbles again. Trying to go up and under, but it's all covered by the brilliant work that has been done by that McLaren. And as such, they stay as is. into the Klein chicane. Through the left. Up and over the hill. Again, it's not going to be a search for a move. Whitehead back in the pits again. There's clearly an issue. And I think that might be the end of Luke Whitehead's race. Not sure we can look back at that or anything of the sort, but Luke Whitehead, while we were focusing on this, by all intents and purposes, is out. And that will be a sting for Luke Whitehead. But it does give that security for McEwing, who is there in 3rd position. Otti still shadowing in 8th. Mangion in 7th. And now what? Nothing into turn 1. It's as simple as, if you're going to get it done, it's going to be decisive. If not, you're going to sit on the back and you're going to wait. You're going to be patient and patient and patient. And this is what's hurting this race, really, in terms of these two. Constant state of pressure. Might be this time for Otti. It's a really good run. He's going to have to go the long way round. But the inside's always going to favour the McLaren. And by the time they get to turn in, it's not there. And it shows. Now, the battle is on as well for 4th place here. I want to keep an eye on that at this stage because Apostol has been charging back through this one. And it's it's Bentley versus Bentley at this stage. So now, got this one, and Apostol could really do with that 4th place. Mind you, Stramer could as well. Stramer's been facing the wrong way in this race so far today. Apostol, of course, had those penalties to deal with. And Apostol searching towards that inside. It's probably going to be the longest 11 minutes and 45 seconds of Daniel Stramer's life. Searching hard to the right-hand side, and again, it's not there. Just not there. And it is painful, you would say, at this point in time, for Apostol to be in the clutches and not finding it. Just not finding it. And it's that level of frustration that you get to. You just can't find the moves that are there, the moves that are happening. And you could argue at this point in time that you really want it to fall in favour, and it's done nothing of the sort right now. It's been an awkward charge, an awkward challenge. But again, Seb Apostol searching every which way to try and get a move done. And no matter which way the tide turns, he can't find it. Stramer's just got to keep the car in the middle of the road, you feel, for 10 minutes and a half. And he's there. Spears, your leader. And your leader by a very, very long margin out there on track. Atkins currently in 2nd position. McEwing in 3rd. And there you can see the battle for 4th position going on right now. And going on absolutely fantastic. Just hearing as well that Filippo has been removed from the server and will be banned from World Pro Racing events for unsportsmanlike behaviour. Apostol was trying to push through. The tiniest bit of overlap between himself and Stramer. And that ends in a spin with Apostol going ahead. So Filippo will not be back with World Pro Racing anytime soon. But Otti still continues his race. Stramer now has dropped back the place in comparison to Apostol. So now the frustration is very much what we see at this point in time. Tomotti still trying to find it, but it's going to be a case of opening it up on the inside on the exit. It's going to be a drag race over towards turn 1 once again. That Porsche trying to saddle onto the inside, covered every stage of the way by a McLaren that is better in a straight line, it looks like. Porsche looks like it is more confident around the corners, but can't get it done in a straight line, then you're going to be in a world of hurt. And this is what we're seeing from Tomotti again and again. Every time he tries to find a move, it is not forthcoming. Again, a look to the outside, but again, McLaren just covers it. You can get to the outside there as much as you like. It's not going to work. Unless you're going to absolutely force Mangione to pinch himself at every single corner, I do not see how Tomotti gets through. You will need another mistake if that is to be the case in the final 7 minutes, 45 seconds. 6 seconds between Apostol and Stramer now. I'll be interested to see how the stewards look at that incident. We're queuing Atkins. 3rd and 2nd, but a huge gap between 2nd and 1st at this point in time. Really has been a runaway. There's your leader, Harry Spears. 107 going through the Villeneuve chicane. Atkins, by the way, is only just now heading through turn 3 at Canal. So they are at completely opposite ends of the circuit. Should show you just how strong Harry Spears has been racing this hour, that he can pull that much of a gap. There is Kalai Atkins. Omega G performance. Had the penalty. Served it early, but it's a quiet race to finish. Now, here's Tomotti, still searching. 1 look, 2 looks to the outside, but they're not going to work. That might, though, on the exit. Going to go over the curbs like that. Mangione. Be prepared to lose the place. Otti's got it sorted. Mangione trying to get as wide as possible, but that's not going to work. So, Porsche finally gets it done late. Moves up in some time, coming to 4 p.m. into what is going to be 7th place at this point in time. And it's a long, long gap to Neuwirth, who is a long way down the road in the 63. Mile and a half, really. Well, probably about a mile is the gap. So you are starting to see how they all get sorted. Tomotti in the 7th, doing what's, or in 7th place in the 696, doing everything that's needed now, building that gap. I think that battle is about to come to a close then here in this one. There's Legreston, by the way, just trying to pull himself out of the way. And does so there. That was Daniel Stramer making his way through. Driver in 5th place. Has those 5 seconds to serve at the end. Does Legreston, but a frustrating one, you'd say, for him. Yes, he's ahead of Rizzo by 8 seconds. Yes, he's ahead of you. Whitehead, of course, is in the pits right now. But really, what else can you say? There's your leader, putting another car a lap down. And that is McEwing in 3rd place. So all but Atkins is now a lap down. If you want to know what dominance looks like, ladies and gentlemen, in any way, in any shape, in any form, if you can lap all the field You are truly dominant in my eyes and in your eyes. He's done all bar one. And Kalai Atkins is not nobody to shake a stick at. He's pretty good. So, Spears has a car that works here today that nobody else can even touch. And it's nice to see Harry Spears finding that element of pace. He didn't have it a few months ago. And he wouldn't have been challenging in these sorts of positions. So it's really, really impressive. And it's been a really mature drive as well from the 107 to say he's got the lead. He's doing well. It was a 28.5 that last time by. He's the only driver getting anywhere close to that cadence of pace at this point in time. So there is Kalai Atkins. He's just going through then at Boulderberg. He is starting to turn the wick up, but I'd say it's more of a hopeful look than anything else. Try and put something through. Second is practically secured. It's going to take a minor miracle for Kalai Atkins to lose that position. It's got such a major gap in front and behind that there's not much you can do really else about it. So, for Kalai Atkins, what does he learn from this? Well, he learned he got outclassed, but he learned that he has great resiliency to get back into second position. Postol's done well to get to fourth. We still don't know if the stewards have taken a look at that incident with Stramet or not. So we'll just await confirmation on that. And that might be a penalty later on. It's the smallest bit of contact that caused the biggest of incidents. There is Andrea Rizzo in 12th. And that in front is Neuwirth in 6th place. So it's not been the easiest day for Andrea Rizzo either, but Andrea's been trying pretty much everything. And it's been a good bit of work, I think it has to be said. Good bit of work being sorted through the lefts and rights of Jackie X. And when you've got a minute 40 left on the clock, it's just about consolidation from here. Bring it home. It's been a tough race. A lot of penalties throughout the field. A lot of incidents and some of the things that we don't like seeing in sim racing, which I think we may have seen, which could be really, really or take the 30 seconds at the end of the race. Either way, he drops that fourth place to Daniel Stramet, should he keep it on the island.
Okay.
Last lap then,
The
with
final
Harry
lap.
Spears.
Oh, you can.
Been his day. And nobody else has even whistled close to him. Been a case of, you will get nowhere near me. Postol is in the pits to take that drive through. It's going to go behind Stramet. Potentially Neuwirth as well. Coming out of Lucien Bianchi to decline chicane, the most difficult section of circuit here, this chicane. You hit the brakes. You rely on the balance of the car. Absolutely flawless. And then the charge happens through Butte to the Villeneuve chicane. Just taking enough of the track through the right. Honestly, what more can you ask for? To Lehman. Boulderberg comes next. It's like watching poetry. Honestly, Harry Spears has just been outwon with the car. Nobody here could come anywhere near him. He's in a league of his own as he comes towards Jackie X. And he will win. And he will win big. This is a huge mission statement from Harry Spears. He has dominated here today with that victory. Kalai Atkins, by the way, still making his way around the midsection of the lap. There he is. Queuing comes across, will be classified in third. Postol, after his drive-through, it'll be P6 in the end for him. As you can see, the smoke, the flares being set after the race is finished. But Kalai Atkins, a solid second place. Cannot take it away from him. Stuck in there, grinded for that position. Got it. And there is your third place finisher, Tom McEwing. Probably wouldn't have been expecting that, but you take them any which way they come along. Calm, consistent. Can't really argue much against that. That's a flawless drive from a driver who doesn't have maybe the same level of pace as those around. But there's your winner. Still has enough fuel to burn around at full speed. I feel incredibly confident. Harry Spears dominating ahead of Atkins, McEwing, Stramer, Neuwirth, Apostol, Otti. Mangion North will be the last to the line in 9th. Abeja, Legreston, Rizzo and Yu, the 13 finishers in this race. So an important race win in the grand scheme of things here, ladies and gentlemen, but one that I'm pretty sure we can be very happy to say was a strong result from now all the way over towards the end. We should be getting, in the next couple of minutes or so, our post-race interviews here at World Pro Racing, get a little eye out on who is going to be there. We are, of course, working out some points as well to see who is the overall round winner. On top of that, it should be no surprise that if you win the sprint and you win the feature as well, that it's going to be very clear that Harry Spears takes a commanding and dominating performance here, and we're going on into the next rounds of the Open Series, and we'll be looking to absolutely dominate and continue to do that same level of ability once again. But this is not necessarily what we would call the normal, this level of victory. It's been the sort of drive that you look at on paper and you say, well, he was just better. Absolutely. There is no ifs, there are no buts, there are no ands about it. He completely outclassed the field today. And there'll be drivers who'll be looking around going, what was that all about today? Luke Whitehead especially, who I feel that will be someone who, in the long term, will be hoping for a bit better than that today. And he'll be his own harshest critic on that if it's not gone the way that he's wanted to, and it's an incident that has happened by someone else's hand. He'll be the first to point out and say, that's not fair. We play fair play. And I'm sure he'll be back up near the top, and he'll be finding those results, and he'll be finding the car underneath him that will give him the result that, by all measure of metric, he will be back there soon. Kalai Atkins did incredibly well. Tom McEwing will take some fantastic points on top of that as well. But a day where the penalties you do feel, and it's worth stressing this as well, not all of those penalties were handed out by the stewards. There were in-game penalties for cut tracks, and we saw those being handed out at here, there, and everywhere. It was those cut track penalties that really set a precedent for this race on how clean you need to be around a circuit like Zolder. So hopefully we will see that, and hopefully we will be able to grab potentially a couple of drivers around for interview in the next couple of moments. I am very hopeful. If that's not the case, then hopefully there will be a chance to keep things on for opportunity at this point in time. Of course, there's been a whole heap of everyone that we need to thank. Of course, you can see all the sponsors down there, from Gaming Malta down there, AMD, HyperX, GT Omega, and Thrustmaster. Definitely seems like they have done incredible bit of battling out there overall. But we can get confirmation then of our results overall. In third, it was McEwing scoring points, Atkins second, and then Spears getting exactly what is needed, which is the all-important victory, which by every margin and metric you can't really argue too much about with the way that they have sorted out their battles, sorted out the way that they dealt with their racing today, and how they will push forward with this one. First and foremost, though, let's talk with Tom McEwing here, third position. Tom, it was the sort of day that you look at on paper and you know it's going to be tough. It's Zolder. You've got all of those incidents that come into play, and everyone's, trying to get as much as they can out of the track, let alone the battles around. And how important was it for you just to stay calm and just to give yourself a gap and give yourself an opportunity to score big today?
Yeah, hi there. Absolutely. I'm guessing it must have been an action-packed race. I felt like I was by myself for pretty much all of it, but just kept climbing the rankings and just try to kind of keep it calm, keep it together, not make mistakes, and take advantage of whatever was happening on the rest of the track.
Well, the advantage was certainly taken up on your end, but let's talk about how you approach an hour-long race, because you have a 30-minute race that pretty much sets up the form book. There's so many quick drivers like Akizi's there. You've got the likes of Atkins and co, and all of those drivers that you'd traditionally expect to see at the front of the field. How do you gear yourself up then from all those drivers that are at the front of the field to, oh, hang on a minute, I'm in third position, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's an odd position to be in, to be honest, because obviously at the start of the race, we'd never expect to be in that position come the end. But I guess once you get to a certain point, you kind of get comfortable, get into a rhythm, and you just kind of keep putting the laps in and kind of keep your fingers crossed that you don't make a mistake and you can, make the most of the opportunity that's been given to you.
Big points. Moving on to the next round of the championship, you must be taking this as a huge confidence boost. And how are you going to take this momentum now and translate it into another strong performance?
Yes, that would be nice. I feel like, the next race I might be a few places back, but hopefully, you can build a bit of momentum, a bit of confidence, and yes, hopefully another strongish result in the next round.
Well, the floor is yours here. Tom, any shout-outs, any sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank with that third place overall here today?
Just my dad. I don't know if he's watching, but he often does watch my races. So yeah, thanks, Dad, if you're watching. Much appreciated. And thanks to you guys for the broadcast. We'll look forward to watching it back this evening.
Well, no worries at all. Tom McEwing there, third position, sponsored apparently by the Bank of Dad for when the Bank of Mum does not seem to come around and help. Kalai Atkins, though, picked up second position overall. And Kalai, you'd say it's an up and down event for you. You're someone who has incredible pace. But it looked like the penalties early on took you out of contention for the race win.
If I'm being honest, I struggled from practice with pace. Tried a lot of stuff with setup, but was always 2 tenths off. So going into the first race and second race, was just trying to maximizing the points and managed to do that. Obviously at the start of, both races I got penalties, but race 2 I did as well, but managed to just keep consistent. Don't really know what happened, but managed to get P2.
Well, consistency very much is the key. A lot of the quick drives around you fell into troubles here today, and that of course will be a massive boost to you and title aspirations later on in the coming months. So how do you take a result like this, even though it might be disappointing on your end in terms of pace, but to still score some massive points, to still come out of a race like this today with a gaining on some of the rivals around you? How much of a positive do you take from a race like this, knowing how much of a struggle it was?
Yeah, I do take a big positive coming. P2 here is quite hard, especially with the struggle of pace, but I'm really happy with this result and take it on to the next few races.
Well, that surely is going to be something that you can be looking forward to. Before we let you go here, Carly, any shout-out sponsors or people you'd like to thank? Yeah,
I'd like to say massive thanks to Tim Blacksmith for sponsoring me in my racing career. I'd also like to say massive thanks to Omega G Performance for helping me as much as they could in the situation I was in. I was also like to say massive thanks to Vishal Patel for obviously being my manager, and yeah, that's about it.
No worries. Until then, so Kalai Atkins there picking up second position overall. Harry Spears with me right now, and well, Harry, I'm not sure if you've got a copy of me right now or not, but that is probably as dominant of a drive as probably I've ever seen when it's come to racing around in this open series. That must have been a comfortable hour and a half's drive for you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to. Yeah, sort of be that dominant a win, but yeah, it got a little bit boring towards the end. Yeah, the rear tyres were starting to go off, and I was just sliding everywhere. I was just like, oh, well, please at this end. But yeah, luckily, the end came eventually, and it. But yeah, very dominant drive, very very boring though.
Well, some say it's boring, but sometimes you've got to get the job done that way. So, how do you look at this race then as a whole? It's a very difficult track. It's one where a lot of drivers struggled with off-track incidents and the like. And really, for you, it was a case in both races of get yourself out in front, build a lead early, and then the rest of the race seemed to be plain sailing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my goal at the start of both races was just to break the slipstreams to get that 2-second gap to either Whitehead in the first race or Keys in the second one, which obviously worked out quite well. So I managed to do it in a few laps, and then obviously just focus on my own lap times, just sort of break away from them.
Well, the breakaway you managed, it's some very important points heading towards next round of the championship. Surely you take this as a huge badge of honor and go, you are the yardstick. How do people try and beat me, and how much do you have to work in that sense to make sure that stays exactly how it is?
Yeah, fingers crossed. Let me check which round it is next, actually. The Imola. Yeah, that's one of my favourites as well. And a really good Bentley track. So I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah, because Zolder's one of my favourites, and I've really been enjoying driving the Bentley lately. So yeah, to have Imola next, which another fantastic Bentley track. That's a huge positive. Yeah, look forward to that one.
Well, huge positives here, there, and everywhere for Harry Spears, and that is a big, big worry for those around. Before we let you go, it's a big victory for you, Harry. Shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, shout out today probably to I'll probably butcher the pronunciation, but Hamada Hakizi and Red One Masood. I'm not sure I pronounced that right, but I had their setup on tonight, and it was it was fantastic, especially in qualifying.
Absolutely there. So a rocket ship strapped underneath. Harry Spears then with a major, major breakthrough as he gets 2 huge victories here today from Zolder. But that's going to bring everything to an end here with us, with World Pro Racing. If you've been watching on YouTube, Facebook Live, or on Twitch as well, you have the opportunity to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by the team here. We, of course, have also been live with TVM Sport, motorsport.tv, and with ESTV, your esports television network. My name's been Jake Sperry, and Harry Spears. Well, what can you say? Cometh the time, cometh the hour, cometh the man. He absolutely dominated proceedings today. He won by half a lap over the course of an hour, and to be quite perfectly honest, I have not seen that level of dominance for a very long time when it's come to sim racing, especially in the sim racing, which is getting closer and closer, more competitive and more competitive, and you'll see it time and again getting to a level and a pinnacle where everyone's saying that 20, 30, 50 drivers could be just as good as the real thing. This is the place where sim racing becomes real. This is World Pro Racing, and you are seeing the birth of a brand new superstar in force. We'll see you next time we see you here. So far, it's been fantastic. So long for now.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.